Welcome back to Vegas Views. Don Sullivan, Torres Ingram, and now our special guest, we have Anthony Portillo. How you doing, brother?
Good, not too bad.
Absolutely. So, Anthony, Don briefly spoke about your story about 11 to 12 year situation that you've been going through. Obviously, she didn't give too much. She wanted to give that glory to you so you could give everybody a walkthrough of what that looks like for you. Can you please tell us what that 11 to 12 years was and how has that got you here sitting with us today on Vegas Views?
Well, honestly, I feel like it's God's alignment, and that's just because it's been an 11-year journey so far. It's this year in September, it's actually gonna be 12, and I mean, I just been, I feel like ever since I found fitness, I feel like everything just got better, and that's that I had got presented these B3 bands, and when I started using them for what they're worth, I started
Before the bands, though, let's talk about what happened to you.
Okay.
Let's back up. So what happened almost 12 years ago?
Well, it started as a car accident, and that night I always say that it was me that possibly chose a lot of wrong decisions.
Okay.
And that's just because, as you know, I was 23, so alcohol was involved.
So you're 23 years old, you're in Las Vegas. Was this in Vegas?
Yeah, this was
23 years old, Vegas, alcohol's involved.
Yeah.
Okay, you're in a car. Okay, what happens?
And then pretty much back in the days, for anybody watching or for you guys, if you guys remember, back in Durango and Desert Inn by the park, there was two big old dips right there. They weren't too big, but they were kind of down there. And it ends up that night that I had made the wrong decision, that my brother said he was driving, and that I ended up getting out of my own car because I had drove that night, but he took over the wheel because I was intoxicated.
Okay.
So he ended up I ended up running out of the car and hopping in my cousin's car. And it's weird because I tell everybody, I'm like, all I see is one flashback in my head, and what I see is him turning, looking at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I just tell him like, "I'm riding with you," and he's just like, "Okay," and that's it.
That's all you remember.
That's all I remember. From there, pretty much my brother had to fill me in with what happened because I don't remember nothing that happened before that night.
So then let me ask you, so then something happened, you don't really know what happens. When do you wake up and come to and realize something's going on? How much time is in between?
It's crazy because my brother currently says that I was in coma for like a month and a half, but what happened was that I was with my eyes closed for a month and a half, and when it did come to the point that I opened them, or I should say God opened them, because doctors predicted me dead. They were already like, he's gonna be a vegetable, he's not gonna be able to blink, he's not gonna be able to cough, and they were always pressuring my family, what do you want to do with him? And that's when
So let me back up real quick. So you're laying there, you're in a coma, your eyes are closed, and they're saying to your family in so many words, what do you want to do with him? Meaning, this guy's not waking up, he's a vegetable, pull the plug?
Yeah.
So they were encouraging your family to pull the plug on you?
Yeah.
And you were in your 20s?
Yeah, I was 23. So
and clearly whoever was there didn't pull the plug on you. That's got to be like a horrific thought to pull the plug. So they had faith that you were going to wake up, or did they not believe you were going to wake up?
Well, most of my family, they would play music in my ears, which I didn't hear nothing. I feel like it was just 3 months that I'm never going to get back. But currently they were playing music in my ears. They said that they would put music that I would love in the past, and like one of them was Safe and Sound by Capital Cities.
Okay.
Yeah, so that they would put that song on replay, and they were saying that pretty much that's what they would do. And I mean, I didn't hear nothing. That's why I say that it's 3 months that I'm never gonna get back.
So you were in the coma for a month and a half with your eyes closed, but then you opened your eyes?
Yeah, but I still don't remember none of that.
Now let me ask you, at this time, were they doing brain scans in the hospital? Did they do brain scans to confirm that there was zero brain activity?
That I heard of, that I know they told me I had 19% brain activity, and my family had told me that doctors were like, that's the lowest we've ever seen, and they're like, well, it's gonna be a miracle if he wakes up and he's good from the brain. But let me tell you that my mom told me that she's like, oh man, I'm glad you got a good brain and everything, because she's like, when they were saying that, she's like, I was telling them like, no, I'm gonna pray for God to bring him back to remember everything. And now I even shock my sisters and my brother because I talk about memories from when I was 5.
That they don't remember.
That they don't remember. They're like, dang, I didn't remember that. That's crazy. And you've been in all these accidents.
Wow.
So,
that is actually incredible. So let me ask you, when you opened your eyes, did you have brain activity at that point, or were you still in a coma?
I was still in a coma.
So you had eyes open, you're
Yes.
laying there, you're still in a coma?
Yeah.
You remember nothing from the coma?
Nothing. Because at that moment, I remember that my sister did tell me that she's like, they had to put eye drops and tape your eyes closed at night. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. Because you just had your eyes open. You wouldn't close them. And I was like, so I knew that I was there, but not there. So what that was, I feel like that was God's sign to show doctors, keep working on this guy. He's good. Yeah. And he was pretty much like, keep working on this guy. He's good. You know, he's in there. And that's exactly what doctors had said when I opened my eyes. And literally that was a month and a half after my mom told me she would put pillows on the ground and pray in front of my bed. And yeah, after a month and a half, when I opened my eyes, that's when doctors were like, okay, he responded to our treatment. We're gonna keep working on him. And at that point, that's when I was just there, just out of it. I even got pictures too, because some people got pictures, but most of the pictures I heard they had to get erased because they were like, no, because what if about this? Those are the last pictures you have because he dies. You know, they didn't want to carry those around, but yeah, I was just sitting there with my eyes wide open, and I guess my sister said that the nurses had to put eye drops and that they would tape them shut at night. And literally, what I remember that I know I was up and alert was.
I was just going to ask, where is the point where you actually wake up, and what was your first thought that you can recall?
Well, I do remember waking up and being more alert and responsive by Christmas of 2013.
Okay.
So by that time.
So what was like your first thought? Do you remember like, oh, where am I? Who am I? What's going on?
You know,
like, did you remember any of that?
It's kind of weird because I think back and I didn't really think nothing of it. I was just my mind was just like, what happened? Because I was literally, I couldn't move. I was bedbound. I was all just laid out on the bed.
Did they have you intubated? Like you were breathing on your own?
I was breathing on my own now,
Okay.
but I still had the tube.
Okay.
So yeah, so I had the tube, and then the little end was closed.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I still had the feeding tube too,
Sure.
but it was closed. And pretty much they had me in this place, and like I said, at that point, that's when I was more alert and responsive, and I know that because I still remember the presents that my sister gave me for Christmas. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I was more alert, and before that, I don't remember nothing, So that's why I know it was a good 3 months. Not only that, but when my brother says a month and a half, I'm just like, I wasn't there, because he talks about that. He goes, oh yeah, I heard a great Thanksgiving story. And I get jealous, and I'm like, I wasn't even wait to be able to try that turkey,
I wasn't there for that one.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah.
I was there, but I wasn't there,
Yeah.
And yeah, because my brother talks about like, oh man, my uncle, he's like, man, he had came in, and he brought bomb food. He said he made some pasta. He brought the turkey. He's like, his turkey was amazing. And I'm just sitting there like, well, you better believe every Thanksgiving now, I savor those turkeys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm like, I didn't get to savor it in 2013.
Can I ask you, do you remember first, like, kind of reuniting with your mom? Do you remember your mom when you woke up?
Yeah, I did. I remembered everybody. And
so you knew who everybody was?
Yeah, and that's another miracle that my mom knew was a miracle because her prayers worked, and I didn't have no brain damage after how low my brain percentage was.
These doctors must have been shocked.
Oh yeah. And that's why I still have the goal of going back to UMC and asking like who was working here in 2013, see if they would remember me, just because my transformation is unpredictable.
So let's get into the transformation a little bit. Guys, is this not just an amazing, epic story? When I met Anthony, at first I was like, whoa. Now, Anthony came in the first time when I met him with a walker. We had spoke briefly on the phone. He found me on media, and he said, I think I want to just give this acting thing a try, but let me tell you a little bit about myself, and I won't forget this. I was driving in the car, and the more he got into his story, for me, it was I have to meet this guy. Like, I have to know who he is, what he's about, because I was like, wait a second, dude, you're a personal trainer? You're in a coma? Like, okay, so there's got to be a part of me. I'm on the phone. I'm like, is this stuff real? Like, is this? So I had met him, and he came in with a walker, and then I see his build, and I'm like, this guy who they considered dead, then would never walk again or speak again or blink again or do anything, is sitting across from me in my office, and he turns to me and he's like, I'm a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so I just already know this about me and Rise Talent in my life. God sends me all the good ones. I already know. God sends me the good ones. So Anthony and I, we click automatically, and he starts to tell me more and more of this, and I'm like, this is kind of insane and almost doesn't even sound real, but guys, it's very, very real. He is currently walking with, what do you call your arm things?
Arm crutches.
Like arm crutches. So he went from eyes closed coma to the slow process in the last almost 12 years to get onto some arm crunches. But in the process of that, he dedicated his life to working out and helping others with personal training.
Yeah.
His before and afters, hopefully we can get Maria some before and after photos so she could put them on the screen for you guys. But it is not the same person. Can you tell them about the bands and what happened there?
Whoa.
And guys, this is not a paid partnership. He is not paid to talk about these bands or anything. This is just his truth.
Yeah. I just know the magic that they do, you know, which I feel like it goes with God. You know, how people say, you know, you can't believe in God without faith, right?
That's right.
So that's what I feel with these bands. I'm like, you can't use the bands without believing what they do. I mean, and that's literally what I did because, you know, my hard work ethic, as you say, I've been working out since 2014. Well, I ended up getting this lanyard that had my channel at the very end, a QR, and I invest $5 in that every month to keep it active and to just go around and just pull it out, and people could end up subscribing once they put their phone to the QR and ends up popping up the link. So at that point, once I got that lanyard, you better believe I was on fire. So I would go around the gym and I'm like, hey, check out my YouTube channel. You know, I do fitness motivational videos. And I would end up giving them the QR so they could scan it and they could get the YouTube. Well, it ends up, I end up hitting the right guy, you know, and I didn't know this was going to happen, but he said when he ended up subscribing, he said he went through every single video from the very beginning one that I created. And he goes, man, this guy's been working hard. He needs a break. So when he ended up hearing that Dr. Mike, which is the president of the B3 company, when he heard he was going to be in town.
Are we shouting him out?
Well, yeah, shout out to Mike. B3,
shout out to Mike.
Yeah, from B3 Sciences. Yeah, from there he ended up he ended up pretty much finding out where he was going to be at.
Sure. And
he ended up shooting me a message and he's like, yo, I want you to be at this place. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. Well, it came to the day where I had to go, and literally I was at home. I still remember like it was yesterday. I was at home, and normally I get around with Uber, right? Because I'm not driving just yet. But so I was debating. I'm like, should I go? I'm like, he invited me. I'm like, I don't know. And then later on, I'm just like, and the thing is, I loved going different places because my networking. I'm like, I could get some people, you know, to subscribe and check out my videos.
Absolutely.
You never know the people that you could hit up with that.
That's
you know?
right.
So I ended up. That's what I ended up thinking. I'm like, well, let me just go. I'm like, I'll see who's there because it was like a networking type thing.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'll see who's there and I'll tell them about my channel. So I end up doing it. I order the Uber, and then when it gets there, I'm like, man, I'm gonna be late. I was supposed to be there at 5 p.m. and currently it was already 4:45. So I was like, man, and then the Uber was saying I was gonna get there around like 5:20. So I was just like, dang, I'm gonna be late. And I was in the back of the car, I was stressing. I'm like, this sucks. And I was all iffy and jittery. And then later on, I was like, you know what? Why am I even worried? I'm like, this is God's will. I'm gonna be there on time. You know, I'm not gonna be late. So I just relax. And literally, when the Uber pulls up, he drops me off. I end up in this moment, I'm in the walker with the tennis balls, right? So when the Uber drops me off, I end up walking into the location, and the lady holding the door, her name's Coco, And I walk in and I'm like, I'm here for event, Coco, and she's all like, oh, that's me. I'm like, oh, okay, nice. She's like, yeah, I was holding the door open for you. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I end up going and I go inside. Once I get inside, that's when I see my partner. His name is John. He goes, Anthony, come here. And he ends up taking me over to the doctor. He's like, this is the guy I wanted you to meet. And he ends up presenting me to him. And he's like, all right. And something that I ended up loving about the doctor was pretty much that he ended up really being interested in the testimony too. And he pretty much, he saw the potential in me. And I mean, at this point, I was a big fit. I wasn't huge, but I was bigger. And so he ends up he starts strapping on the bands, and he straps them on, and then he starts presenting the bands and how much their cost and everything. And then my partner comes up and he's like, hey man, so you think you can afford them? And I'm just like, man, I'm like, because he ended up breaking it down that it was like $1,300 to be a founder. It was like $500 to buy the bands, and then I think he would also do payments on the bands. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, because he actually used me as an example before he even got to the presentation. He strapped on the bands, and he just had me do little leg workouts with a resistant band. And I remember he had me do this. He held the band. I just pulled it, and when I pulled it, I was feeling the burn on my arms quick, and I was like, dude, that's crazy. And then later on, when I got a good pump, at that point he goes, all right, go ahead, and he takes off the band. He's like, go ahead and flex, and I go like this, and everybody's like, whoa, your biceps are huge, and it was bigger and pumped, and that's when everybody's like, oh man. And that's when pretty much he goes up, presents, breaks down everything how it is. And then so later on, my partner comes up and he's like, so I want you on these, you need these. He's like, they're gonna help you heal. And I'm just like, I know, after what I felt, I want them. I know they're good for what they're worth. But he's like, well, how's your budget? And that's when I told him my budget. I told him how I pay everything, how much everything costs. And that's when he's like, yeah, so it's gonna be tough for you. So at that point, he ends up telling Doc. He goes up to Dr. Mike. He's like, let me talk to him, and I'll see what we can do. So I'm like, all right. So he goes, he chats it up with him. Then he comes back. He's like, man, you're lucky, you're blessed. He's like, it ends up I'm gonna go half first, and he's gonna go half first to turn you into a founder. So I was like,
that is
okay.
incredible.
Yeah,
that is absolutely incredible.
So I was like, all right, awesome. And
and these bands kind of saved you in their own way as well.
They did.
Yeah.
Which is insane, because I mean, as we speak, it's a miracle that I'm here talking to you.
Yeah.
Because after the accident, there was pretty much 2 other occasions that I went to that were life-threatening. That I'm still alive.
Yeah.
And pretty much the bands, right? This is how crazy God's blessings are, right? Yeah. So I got presented the bands. I got invested into that company.
Yeah.
And then a month after that, I get hit by a car.
Yeah.
I was riding my electric scooter to the gym, and I believe this guy probably wasn't paying attention or something like that.
Yeah.
But he ended up hitting me. And then when he hit me, that's when, thank God, no coma. But I do remember everything, which it was the pain, the torment. I still remember it was unbearable pain, because I ended up breaking my hip in 3 spots.
Yeah.
So it was unforgettable and unbearable. But I didn't end up dying, which I heard that the car, after he hit me, he went like 20 feet from the crosswalk before he broke. And when he did break, I rolled off the hood and hit my head on the blacktop.
Oof.
Yeah, so literally, I still remember my partner of the band, John. He ends up walking in, and he walks in. He's like, "Hey, did you bring the band?" And I'm like, "Cause I was in rehab." And he's like, "Did you bring the band?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "What the heck, man? Do you have them?" I'm like, "I have them, but at home." I'm like, "I don't have them on me." And he's just like, "Well, what the heck are you doing?" He's like, "Get them here." And he just told like that straight up, "Get them here." He's like, "I don't care who brings them in. I don't care if I have to go to your house and grab them and bring them here." He's like, "I want you to be using them." And I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll tell them. I'll tell my mom. I'll tell my brother to bring them." And the next day, my brother ends up bringing them in. So at that point, that's when I pull them out of the backpack, and I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about, but all right, I'll start using them. you know, and it's crazy because these bands, I'll just name like 5 beneficial things that they do,
Okay.
but they also do a whole lot more after that. But they're great anti-aging.
Mm-hmm.
They boost your immune system. They boost your nitrous oxide, your human growth hormone, and they build bone density.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so pretty much on top of all that, I found out live testimony that they're great for healing past or present injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, you know, like I said, I was like, I didn't know what my partner was talking about. Bring those bands, get them here, you know, which he probably just talked about it because he's like, you could use them probably to work out with them.
Right.
But the way it actually turned out was, I mean, when I was laying in bed, I remember I tried to do leg lifts and I couldn't even lift my leg because of the pain of the hip. I was like, it was too unbearable and I couldn't even lift my leg. So I ended up strapping the bands on and then I pumped them up with the air. And then once I pumped them up, that's when I tried doing leg lifts and I was able to lift them. So I was like, oh, that's crazy. So I would start doing at least like 25 to 30 reps. And at that point, I would feel a slightly burn. So at that point, I'm like, okay, cool.
You know it's working.
Yeah. So I took like 10-minute rest and then from the 10-second rest. And then I go on and do another set. And literally after I got done with like 3 sets, at that point, I would just release the air. And I'm pretty sure that blood rush, that's what starts healing the past or present injury.
It was actually pretty ironic when I had met you, Anthony, and when we first sat down, after our conversation, we first sat down, and you started telling me about these bands. I was like, wait. And I was like, this guy is either like completely lives and dies by these bands, or you're out to sell these bands. And in my head, I'm like, he's not out to sell these bands. He needs the world to know about these bands because they saved his life.
Exactly.
And I'm like, wait, back up with the bands. So he tells me about all these bands. He shows me all the pictures. I see all the YouTubes. I see him working. I'm like, holy moly. So I don't have much experience with the bands. I've never used the bands. I don't know what the bands, but you 100% should be a spokesperson, a live walking spokesperson for these bands. They saved you, they've cured you, and I am so super excited. You are on your way to walking on your own. Is this correct?
Yes. Oh yeah. And I could already feel it. I know it's gonna happen this year. I don't know what month or what day or even the time, but I know it's gonna happen.
You're doing so good on those crutches, and I love what you had said before. You said, I'm not jogging yet, but you're not even supposed to be alive.
Yeah,
like, you're not even supposed to be alive. And he looks at me and goes, I'm not driving yet, but there's nothing this gentleman can't do. He is currently working in our studio toward acting. Incredible actor, I heard. Your coaches told me, like, okay, that guy's good. And I'm not surprised.
And he had a killer photo shoot as well. Yes.
When you go through a lot of stuff in your life, I would only assume you know a lot of emotions and you know a lot of feelings, and that's a lot of the time what it takes to be a really great actor, is being in tune with your emotions and your feelings. One other thing I need to tap in, your faith in God. Yeah, is it begins and ends with God?
Yeah. Well, before the accident, I knew there was a God, but I would rarely go to church. Like I say, I was just literally like, I have no filter on myself. But I was a fat guy with a girl that was, that was a relationship full of lust, that loved material. And that's because back in the day, I remember when I would get home from work, I still remember I would lay down, and when I start laying down, I start thinking back of the day, and I'm like, man, I have my car, I have a good job, because I was a supervisor at the Westin, a security guard. So I'm like, I have a nice job, I'm like, and a girlfriend, and then I started thinking about dying, and I would just shake my head, I'm like, no, I don't want to die. I'm like, no, I love life, it's good. I'm like, I have everything I want. And yeah, let me tell you that after that situation, I ain't afraid of death no more, because I'm like, if it comes, it comes.
Let me ask you now, are you in a better place now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love this, guys. Do you hear this? This gentleman has struggled for the last almost 12 years to walk and to function in society, and he's now saying he has a better life now than he did before the accident. That is incredible, and that's God's grace.
Yeah.
That is God giving you the strength, the endurance, the grace, the faith, everything you need to be you.
Yeah.
And this version of you, Anthony, is so cool. You're such a cool human being. You get along with everybody. People just like you.
Right.
You're really confident. Let me ask you, did it ever mess with your confidence? Like, I can't walk, I'm not the same guy anymore. Did it ever mess with you?
Yeah, I remember back in 2018.
Okay.
I remember I dated this girl, and I remember at one point that I'm walking out of the house because I think we're gonna go eat or something like that.
Okay.
But I look at my shadow, and when I look at my shadow, I see myself a little like Plazimoto. You know, I'm like this, all tilted, and then I'm more to like I think it was to the left, but I'm more to the left, and I look, and this is the dumbest thing that I learned. That I think about it now. I'm like, I wouldn't do it now because I learned. You know, I learned from all my mistakes.
Yeah.
But I told my girlfriend, I'm like, hey, why are you with me? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, why are you with me? I'm like, I got all these defects, deformed. I'm like, what do you find attractive in me? And she's just like, I don't look at that. I look past that, you know? And she's all like, that's why. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like I say, I'm like, I learned that from that mistake, because now that I think about it, I'm like, it's not about that. You know, it goes past that. It's more about what's in the heart. And whoever you fall in love with, you look past all that.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, you're not looking like, oh man, nah, she got defects or nothing like that. You know, at that point you're just like, I know she has a heart, and I'm going for the personality. And and that's what I ended up learning. And yeah, and that I think that was the only time. And then a lot of the times when we do go out, I ain't gonna lie, a lot of the times it does bring me down when everybody's walking and I'm getting left behind, and I'm trying as hard as I can to keep up, and they're just walking. I'm just like, man, I'm like, this sucks. And that's when it gets to me, because it starts messing with my head, because it starts making me feel like, man, I'm not like everybody else. You know, I can't walk as fast as them.
But knowing you, there's probably a part of you that's like, just wait, one day I'm gonna run past these fuckers, right?
Yeah.
That's how I am. Like, yes, and I love that about you, Anthony. That's probably my favorite thing about you, and that's resilience. That's God's resilience. I have that. I have been in my life so many times where I would have to question myself like that and say, okay, I don't feel like adequate about this or about that, and then watch one day, and I've made those strides so much that I'm in a space now in my life where I don't have those thoughts anymore, I don't have those feelings anymore, and now I run past everybody. And so I'm really excited to have this journey with you. I'm really excited to be your agent and part of your life, and it is my honor, Anthony, to be near you, and it's my honor to know you, and you are just an incredible young man, and you give like so much life and love, and just thank you. Just thank you for sharing your story today. Thank you for everything, and we love you at Rise, and I can't wait to grow with you. And guys, you're gonna catch this guy on the big screen sooner than you think, because there's goals here, and clearly when Anthony sets a goal, he accomplishes it. Another way you guys can get in touch with him is on Instagram if you're looking, and on his YouTube page. He's gonna let you know that in a second. If you're looking to get work out with him, he's actually taking on new clients right now. If you're looking to book him on anything acting, get in touch. Thanks, Maria. She's knocking her face over today. If you're looking to book him for his fitness or any kind of guidance or anything like that, you can get in touch with him on your Instagram or YouTube. How do you want them getting in touch with you?
YouTube is fine, and then once they find the YouTube, it's pretty much everywhere. It's on TikTok.
Let them know how to get in touch with you. What's the YouTube channel?
So pretty much if you put hashtag CNMFitness on YouTube, my videos will come up. Once you find it there, you could also look them up on Instagram, on TikTok. It's all CNM Fitness.
CNM?
Yeah.
CNM Fitness, guys. CNM Fitness. Again, Rise Talent LLC on Instagram. Rise Talent LLC on Instagram. I'm going to repeat that again. Rise Talent LLC on Instagram. Thank you always. Torres Ingram. He's amazing, guys. Come check out his Monday night classes. We have stunt classes going on. We have four new acting classes going on. Improv, stunts, singing, dancing, 1 to 10 emotional acting classes, elite acting classes, a bunch of modeling classes, singing and acting. We've got everything. We are taking on new clients as well. We're getting ready to get to New York City IMTA, so give it up for us for that. Don't forget about the 15th fashion show at Area 15. Come by and say hello. And guys, thank you so much every week for tuning in to Vegas Views. Thank you so much to social media shows. Thank you so much for Maria. We are so grateful to have her. And guys, we love you.